Oh, welcome into LFC Transfer Room for your Saturday night edition of the stream, building up to the game against Chelsea tomorrow, where we start our season, hopefully with 3 points. Touted the MOISES CAICEDO derby, even though he does look like he's going to them now. Joined by Richie, Jay, and Kev. Start with you, Richie. How are you this evening?
Yeah, all right, I'm glad that this Caicedo conundrum's coming to an end, really. It's dragged out way longer than what it should, and hopefully Liverpool have something up their sleeve now and we can actually get on with our lives rather than refreshing Twitter every 20 minutes like I'm sure we all have done for the past 48 hours.
Yeah, definitely. Kev, how are you? Have you been refreshing Twitter? I have, but I've saw some usage to the word Caicedo now. So
I wasn't until I saw how crap my fantasy football league team was doing, so I've kept off social media altogether and just watched a few of the games and kept myself kind of lively doing that. Nice to see Richie's top. Nice new season, new top, new man. Good to be on with you again, Matty and Jake. So, no, I'm all good, mate. I'm flying.
Boss and Jay, it's good to see you. How are you doing?
All good, mate. It's been a whirlwind, hasn't it? Woke up Friday absolutely buzzing. By the end of the night, lad, my head was banging. The amount of times I refreshed Twitter and still am now trying to avoid it, but you just can't, can you?
I've muted the word Caicedo, mate, just because I'm fed up of seeing, because the transfer being put out a tweet before and it hit the nail on the head about how many times, and Richie said it in the chat, how many times does journalists want to change the word that they're going to bid soon? It's doing me head.
Romano's the one zooming my head in.
Definitely getting paid, and he's every 2 seconds.
Yeah, deal close.
Doing me head, but building up to tomorrow, Richie, given today's results, the Newcastle game, things just finished as we've came on. Well, how are you feeling? Confident? Not confident? No defensive midfield?
Yeah. I don't think anything that would have happened with Caicedo or Lavia or whoever else that we bring in, they were going to feature tomorrow anyway. So it was sort of, as you were, I think, against Damsgaard, I think McAllister will perhaps slot into that 6 anyway. And I think it adds totally a bit more spice to the game tomorrow. I want to see some tackles really flying in from the Reds and, you know, just showing Caicedo what he's missed if he has indeed gone to Chelsea. Newcastle looked phenomenal. 5-1 it ended, and you know I didn't put them in our top 4. In my top 4, I know it's only one game. You shouldn't judge anyone off one game, but they did look pretty solid. So we're going to have to get off to a flyer, I think, and we're going to have to show everybody what it is to come and join Liverpool Football Club, because we're going to have to put ourselves in the market. And I'm sure there'll be lots and lots of takers, but we've shown our hand now. We've shown that we've got 110 million pounds at least to spend, and other clubs are going to be rubbing their hands with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, regarding Caicedo, Kev, it does look like he's going to Chelsea. Matt Law said it as well today. That apparently it is even close now. I mean, they haven't signed him yet, but apparently it is close this time. But where do we go from here? Because do they even go and do the unthinkable and go and get Lavia in as well, just to piss us off? Because it does look as though the Caicedo battle's been quite feisty behind the scenes. So do they then go and get Lavia as well and just put a middle finger up to FFP, really?
I think they've already done that by putting the price up to 55 million already with Southampton, and they'll do what they did with Tyler Adams and just walk away. And then we're left with the ungrateful task of going back to Southampton and going, well, we'll give you the 50 million. But as you quite say, we're now left with our trousers down with 110 million that everyone knows that we've got. So our next move's got to be decisive. Now, whether that's Florenzo Luis from Benfica, who is an option, there will be other options. But for me, it puts us on the back foot a lot. 24 hours ago, I think we were all delighted, thinking we were doing something that we never thought was possible. Your theory was absolutely, I think, was bang on about what you said about how this came about, and I'm not going to shed any more on that. I'll let you go on to that if you want to, Matty. But for me, it's the longer it was going on and how tedious it was, we always knew there was always going to be one outcome and one outcome only, and that was he was just going to go there. Sadly, we're missing out on a big player, but I think we have to move quickly now and make those funds available, and Klopp just does what he needs to. The annoying thing tomorrow is that and the frustrating thing is we're playing at their place, and no doubt they'll bring them out at half time and reveal him as one of their players. I hope that's enough for us to just go out and absolutely beat them 4 or 5-0.
Yeah, Jay, it's rumoured that giving him a 9-year deal with an option for a 10th. How are they getting away with it? Because I know they are meant to be getting looked at anyway, but to then go and make further sanctions, because even Kepa going, that's only on loan, so it's going to be a minimal fee. The players they've sold haven't had much profit. Mo chats with them, fantastic tweets about it needing to be profit to count. So how are they doing it? Like, it's just a middle finger up to FFP, really, isn't it?
I think Bowley probably doesn't take it seriously because nothing's ever came of it. No one's ever been seriously sanctioned or had anything done to them. So Bowley's probably looking at it like, well, fuck all happens anyway. So I may as well spend what I want when I want on who I want. So that's why they're getting away with it. Even City now, the charges they've got, it's going to take years. So he won't be looking long term. He's looking at what he wants now. He's a billionaire who's used to getting his way. He's not really going to care about any of that, mate. He's just going to do what he wants to do. And that is what he's doing. It might come back to bite him on the arse. But right now, I don't think someone like Bowley cares about that, mate. He's used to getting what he wants. That's how you become a billionaire. So I think he probably doesn't take FFP seriously because, like I say, nothing's ever happened to anyone who's breached it as of yet.
That's $1 billion in the past 2 years. Scratch you saying in the comments, crazy numbers, really, isn't it?
Mental.
But then, Richie, if they go in for Lavia as well, what are they doing? Because they'll have three arguably world-class defensive midfielders, because they'll have Enzo, Caicedo and Lavia, all world-class. How can they play them all?
Well, they can't, can they? But I would expect that they've definitely got a plan to fit them in, because I think maybe let's say if they do get Lavia, they perhaps should have or will be doing what Liverpool should have done, and that's not actually play Lavia straight away from the off and actually bleed him in. He's only 19 years old, and bleed him into that squad with Enzo and Caicedo there, really holding down that fort in a double pivot, perhaps. Chelsea need midfielders. I think that's where we will, funnily enough, expose them tomorrow, because I do think our midfield at the moment is better than theirs in terms of McAllister, Jones and Szoboszlai. I think that might be our three midfielders, or Gakpo might come in for Jones. I'm not really too sure to see how Jones got on with that knock. But either way, it's a tough one. I can't see a world in which Chelsea get both. I might be completely wrong. I don't know the Chelsea finances. I can't see a world in which they get both. I think Lavia was a backup option for them, and they agreed those terms. And, you know, like one of you guys said, I'm so sorry, I can't remember who it was. They'll walk away like they did with Tyler Adams and just leave him there and say, okay, well, there you go. Sorry, Lavia, you was our plan B. And I think that's perhaps what they've done. What doesn't help us out if we go back in for Lavia is, you know, is Southampton still wanting, I think they'll still want their 50 million, if I'm honest. And we know that Liverpool didn't value Lavia at 50 million, otherwise they would have bid 50 million for him. So it's a really tricky one that perhaps Liverpool have shown their hand. I can't wait for it all to come out in the wash. You know, in a month or two, I'm sure The Athletic will do a piece about the inside knowledge of this past 24, 48 hours. And I'm really looking forward to reading it, because there must have been lots and lots of, not underhand tactics, but lots of persuasive devices and tactics going into this deal, because there's no way that Liverpool look at Caicedo and bid for him a British record fee, let's not forget, if he wasn't interested in going, because that makes no sense whatsoever. So I'll be very interested what has changed his mind. I'm sure that his agent and PR team will put out an amazing piece there where it's, you know, where he doesn't come out looking too badly. But either way, it's going to be an interesting way to see how this transfer unfolded, because Liverpool now have a lot to do, and Chelsea have perhaps won the battle with Caicedo. Hopefully we win the battle at the Bridge tomorrow. But certainly, you know, the war for a central midfielder is going to rage on for Liverpool.
Before we move on, there is over 200 of you, no, nearly 200 users in here. We've only got 20 likes. Do try and get this to 64. It helps us out loads on the channel. It puts us in the algorithms, what YouTube want you to do. So please do that for us. Kev, Lavia, Southampton are now going to demand 55 mil, aren't they? It's going to say, well, Chelsea are going to pay that, so yous are. And
Yeah.
we've shown they stick to the guns. So would you pay 55 million for Lavia?
I'll be honest. I think 50 was still too much for me. 45 plus add-ons was where I was with it, and I think that was more than conceivable to do. What Chelsea have done is the underhanded second the book, which is, well, we're going to persist with this, and we'll go in for Lavia, and we're going to put that price up. So as well as we put two fingers up to them and go, well, you're paying 35 million more, they're now going to say, well, you're going to have to pay 10 mil more than what you wanted to. And you can't, and the worst thing for us is we're in a worse position because everyone knows how much we've got now. So we can't play the pauper story like we have done all transfer window. So, you know, it puts us on the back foot. I just hope that within these last 12, 15 hours that we haven't been sitting thinking this is going to be done. I think I would really hope that we've got other people in mind so that if it does go tits up, we are able to go counter and bring something in, because at the minute it doesn't look good for any party involved in this deal. Everyone comes out with a bit of tarnish on them, more than on some of us. Do you know what I mean? Even the players' agents, do you know what I mean? Holding out. That's, you know, because he's getting more money off Chelsea. Allegedly. Yeah. So, you know, everyone doesn't come out of this all squeaky clean. Everyone comes out with a bit of, you know, a bit of dirt on them for how long it's done. All it's shown to me in the last 24 hours is that journalists haven't got a clue, and they used to told us that many times that, you know, to reword and regenerate stories every hour or so. And the worst thing about it is the strings and the people that they're holding to account for all this is the supporters. Supporters in the middle of being all over the place. Do you know what I mean? It's madness, and that's where the media gets us at the minute. It would be nice if someone came on and went, "We haven't got a clue what's going on," or to words to that effect, and say, we're unsure. At the minute, we all still know that Brighton is still only accepted one deal at the minute. I think a lot of people will be, I don't be saving grace, but to reword things and regenerate it, it's bizarre. But I can see us going in for Lavia. We'll pay 50 million, and it'll be 5 million in add-ons as well to get to that 55 million, unfortunately.
What about you, Jay? Would you be happy with Lavia for 55 mil? I mean, you could then go and get Andre for 20. I know he'd come next season at that price, and then go and get Inaki from Sporting. His release clause would allow you to do that with this 111 million that the owners have now shown us they're willing to spend. Was that a successful summer then, or are we still weak?
Look, it all looks doom and gloom if Caicedo doesn't sign. We've put it. It's one of them. We don't spend 100 million on players, and the one time that we're gonna, the player looks like he stuck two fingers up to us. So everyone's gonna feel frustrated about it. But the window isn't dead. We could still turn around and sign Lavia and Thuram, and for me, that's actually a better window than just getting Caicedo. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just, you know, it's an example. What I do hope is with all this dragging on, that we're not just doing what we've done with Tchouaméni and Bellingham, thinking, yeah, he will sign, or yeah, Chelsea won't put the funds up. We've got to be doing something in the background there. Have to be. Like, for me, if we're not, that's worse than going for Caicedo late and letting it drag on, not having something behind it. So I don't think Chelsea will get both, mate, and it's one of them, yeah. If we have to pay an extra 5 million, Chelsea have had to pay an extra 30 for Caicedo. So, you know, it swings and roundabouts. The window's not dead. I don't think we're getting Caicedo, and I don't think we should bother now anyway. He said he doesn't want us. Just made Chelsea pay out their ass for him. That's all I care about. And like Richie said earlier, mate, I'd rather beat them on the pitch than in a conference room or whatever they're doing trying to sign them. So, yeah, I won't swear, but F them.
Mitch, I'm going to put two very different comments for you to see what we think of. Lee's saying that if we have this much money to spend, how come we've messed around with the extra 5 mil for Lavia and didn't just pay it in the first place? We have all said we don't think he's worth that much, but then, as Forrester says, you lost the plot if you think you're fine with paying 111 mil for Caicedo, but feel like 50 mil for Lavia is too much. And he's got a point, because there's no way on earth Caicedo's worth 111 million pounds either. I don't think any footballer is worth 100 million plus. So in that context, 55 for Lavia, not our money, so just spend it, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's I was fine. I agreed wholeheartedly with Kev earlier about that 45 plus 3, I think it was, or 45 plus 5 for Lavia. I think that's a fair deal for everybody involved. I think that's where Liverpool perhaps value him. I think why Liverpool didn't want to do 50 mil up front was perhaps because they actually don't value him as 50 mil up front. They actually value him as a 45 mil player. And yes, we might have had this money, but that that 110 or 111 million now hopefully will be still spent 111 million, but instead of one player, I would like to think that Lavia, a centre back, and perhaps another midfielder comes in. I know that Matty mentioned about the lads that we were linked with. I think why they didn't pay that 50 million up front was perhaps because they simply just didn't value Lavia at that. And in a world where a striker goes to Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs, for £72 million, only scoring 6 league goals the year before, it shows you the price of the market. Declan Rice over 100 million. Enzo Fernandez 100 million. So it's such an inflated market at the moment, and I believe also this is the last real window where agents can actually charge the proper wedge as well. So there's going to be lots of agency fees floating about. Same as Bellingham. I've seen so many people say, well, if we've got 111 for Caicedo, why didn't we bid 100 for Bellingham? The total package for Bellingham was around about 300 million, taking into 20 million agency fees. I read his dad had a consultancy fee of 20 million as well on top, plus his wages. So that package wasn't 100 million. It was more around about 300 million, depending on what you read. So Liverpool quite rightly perhaps value Lavia at less than 50 million. Now, they're in a really sticky situation because they need a central midfielder / CDM. They're going to have to go out and probably pay that 50 million now with their tails between their legs and pray to the heavens that this poor lad who's been absolutely dragged from pillar to post, young lad, 19-year-old, who just wanted to play for Liverpool Football Club, looked like he was going to get his move, and then he finally got dropped, and then he's going to Chelsea, he's going to get dropped again. And we just got to pray that this poor lad wants to come to Liverpool again, because it's a massive risk that we've played, and it will be tails between our legs, and we might have to give him a slightly higher wage than perhaps we would have before as a little bit of compensation too. I do still think, though, that the reason why, going back to that first comment, because Liverpool didn't value him at 50 million. I really do think that's why. And we can use whatever analogy we want. If you go and buy a house, you value it at 250, the owners want 300. What do? Let's put it into our context. 5 million to us for Liverpool Football Club doesn't seem a lot, but actually try and break it down a little bit like that. Are you going to spend an extra 50k on a house that you don't value that house to be at? So that's, I suppose, the best way that I could try to put it and try to explain. Maybe that's what Liverpool Football Club are doing. Maybe they're just being tight. Maybe they're thinking, nah, that's it. Southampton will accept that because they're relegated. He wants to come. He's not played in the Carabao Cup. He's not going to be playing in the league. Don't know if he played today in that thriller, 4-4. Didn't see it. He didn't. So there you go then. So obviously his feet are firmly on the ground as well. But hopefully those two questions are skirted around / answered. But they're, again, just my opinion on it.
Kev, when I put this one to you,
cheers, mate.
He said, what Eddie's basically saying is Lavia actually wants to join us and Caicedo doesn't. Does that matter to you? Because I agree with Eddie, and I think you'll probably agree as well. I think we all will. That it does to all us. Like Caicedo now, if he came, it'd be a little bit bittersweet because the fans are pretty much in a mindset of, well, fuck you then if you don't want us.
Well, there's always been that with me in the sense of Caicedo. There's always been, even going back to January, how we tickled Arsenal and got them into a frenzy and of trying to bring them in.
Yeah.
It's sad, really. I agree. I totally agree with it. I think the only reason we wanted them is so that we could put one up over Chelsea and say, look, we've got them. And there you go. I feel sorry for both lads to be involved. I think to some degree, you got an Ecuadorian who's going to be like the richest man in his country, and will be able to do stuff and he's going to be filthy rich off his next deal. And he sat there, he's got an agent in one ear trying to tell him to do one thing or another. And on the other end, you've got Lavia, who said his goodbyes to Southampton and has got himself ready and prepared to get him to come to Liverpool, got his mindset, everything. And then we falter him. It just shows the stress and the roller coaster that happens when you've got two very good players. I don't think anyone would disagree that Caicedo suits our midfield far more than what he does Chelsea. But with that being said, I do agree with the actual comment that, at the end of the day, we didn't really have sight on seeing him being in a Liverpool shirt, if we're being totally honest with ourselves. And the fact that we were in for him now, I think the way Lavia's attitude's been during all of this, I'd sooner be having a lad who's like Dan, has got a mindset on being and coming to us than someone who doesn't and wants to be somewhere else. So it makes perfect sense to me that we bring the lad in from Southampton. Totally.
I really like that point that you made there about Lavia's attitude, because he could have been, well, he probably is disheartened about the whole thing, but we've not heard anything, have we, from him at all?
Nope.
And I think that's a really good point that you've made there, saying that actually his attitude, and I know people have said in the comments that his coach is saying that the kid's got the right attitude, he's got the right skill set and mindset to actually go really far in this game. So that's a really good point that you made about his attitude as well, because he could have thrown his toys out the pram. And he could have even played today and thought, you know what, fine, no one wants me, I'm going to stay here.
Yeah. Moving on to the Chelsea game, though, Jay. Who plays defensive midfield for Liverpool? Because even we could have had Caicedo up or Lavia, we would have just bought one of them before 6 p.m. today. But now we're facing the possibility of going into a game with no real recognised defensive midfielder in the side. So, in your opinion, who would you play there? Would you play McAllister, who has played there very, very well for Brighton, but you're missing out on all of his creativity? But then there's no one else really, is there, who's decent?
To be honest, I think if we'd have signed Lavia or Caicedo anyway, they wouldn't have been in for Sunday. If we'd have got them this week, if we'd have got them when we sold Fabinho Henderson, which is when we should have been making moves, then we've had no pre-season with us. I don't know what Caicedo's situation was at Brighton either. I don't even know if he was involved with them, because they knew he was going. Desiree, the way he's talked about him, sounds like he wants nothing to do with him, to be honest. Even in his press conference today, he was like, that's done, like, not asked. And he's still technically their player. So I think that speaks volumes and adds to Kev's point about Lavia's attitude. You know, that kid hasn't been kicking his feet and stuff, but I'm going off topic there. So I'd put McAllister in a 6. I don't like Jones in the 6. I know McAllister obviously is creative, but I think Jones' strengths are creativity. McAllister's great at pressing, really good at it. And his duels, he's really good as well. I'm not saying Jones isn't, but I think he's a bit too casual for a number 6 when he's on the ball sometimes. And I also think you lose a lot of his creativity being in a 6. I think Jones' strengths are going forward, not defending. My midfield might be controversial, actually, because I wouldn't start Szoboszlai.
Wouldn't you?
I'd start Jones over him.
On the right side?
Yeah. I'd have McAllister in the 6, Jones, and oh my God, who did I have before?
Cody Gakpo.
No, I wanted Gakpo in the 9, actually. I might be lying, lads. It might have been... Yeah, I think what I wanted was McAllister as the 6, Jones and Szoboszlai, and then Gakpo, Diaz, Salah. In my head before, I thought I didn't have him. I'll come back to that, lad, but yeah, I'd have McAllister in the 6.
What about you, Richie? Would you play McAllister in the 6? It seems the most sensible option, doesn't it? One of his best games last year was actually against Liverpool, where he played 6. And Jones was off the back of fantastic form for us and England in that left side, the centre midfield role. So it seems that's the most common sense to start that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I don't know why Jay's trying to get rid of more players, because we haven't got any to get rid of in our midfield. So please don't subtract any more from there. But yeah, I completely agree. McAllister is a 6. He's so intelligent as a footballer. I think he'll be. I think Jay and I actually both said in the poll that it would be our signing of the season. And I think maybe even the Premier League signing of the season, if I'm completely honest, because for 35 million, that's a snip. He's so intelligent, and yes, you do lose that creativity. You do lose how well he is at that transition play, but he's so intelligent in the role of a 6, and it's probably the most difficult position to play in as a 6, because you've got to be not just great with the ball, not just great as a tackler, not just great communicator. You've got to be so positionally aware around the pitch as well. You've got to be switched on at all times, because your position anchors the rest of that team. So McAllister is the person who can do that. I think it also helps if you've got McAllister there, because Trent could come into that inverted fullback role, which I'm sure we'll get onto in a moment. Personally, controversial as it is, I wouldn't play it tomorrow, purely because you haven't got a natural 6 to do that. I would go back to that 4-3-3, but I'm sure we'll talk about the inverted role later. So Bosley, Jones, McAllister for me. I can see a reason why, again, depending on Jones's injury, Gakpo perhaps drops into midfield, and we see what we did against Damsgaard, where we see Jota through the middle, because he's been sensational in pre-season. You know, he's been banging in the goals. So it might be harsh to drop Jota. So the two scenarios for me would be Gakpo in midfield or Gakpo as the 9 and then Jones coming in. Again, depending on the fitness of Jones. I know that it was a knock and he did play some part against Damsgaard. So either way, I think Mac has to be at that 6 role. And then when we do have a 6, go back to that 8.
Yeah. Before we move on, there's nearly 300 of you in here. If you can do us all a massive favour and just leave a little like on the video. If you're feeling extra generous, leave a subscribe. It does help the YouTube algorithm, does boss things for us, so please do that. Kev, Richie mentioned about McAllister, 35 mil. When you look in today's market, it is a steal, really, isn't it? He's a World Cup winner. He's fantastic on the ball, He can win the ball back. He's aggressive on the ball as well. It's a 35 mil, probably it's one of going to be on them signs we look back on. Similar to like Andy Robbo, I know he was only 8 mil, but I'm probably like Gakpo and stuff where you think, how do we get him for that price?
Exactly. I've got him down as my as the signing of the season as well, 35 mil, and for the versatility of the player. And I think that's more you look at this team, it's more versatile than you've seen before. And to have the player and have the technique of a McAllister in that midfield compared to what we've had before, it's a definite upgrade. Absolutely. I'm going to be controversial with my 4 in midfield. Mine would be played as a diamond, so I would have McAllister at the bottom. I'd then have Elliott, and I'd have I'd have Jones. I'd have Jones and Elliott, and I'd have Gakpo at the top of that. At the top of that, I just feel that Szoboszlai, I'll be honest, didn't look at his best in the game on Monday at Preston. I think he is still trying to find his feet for me. And it wouldn't hurt it with bringing him on in the second half. That would be my midfield for me. I think you then have Jones, who can then alternate with McAllister at times during the game, and allows McAllister to get up forward if needs be. You've seen, I saw on Monday, and I witnessed on Monday how McAllister was also playing the 6, but then was also playing up as an 8 and as a 10. He was box to box on Monday, and I was really impressed with not only his skills that he could do as in a 6, but also his forward play and his forward thinking. And how progressive he is. It's nice to see someone in our midfield who's got that kind of first look, let's go look forward kind of feeling to it. And he is very versatile. And the good thing about it is we've got a player who can play that 6 and played it well for Brighton. So for me, it's a no-brainer for me tomorrow. Get him playing, and I think he will be the steal of the season. I don't think anything comes close to McAllister and the price we paid for him.
Definitely. Just come out, Joyce saying that they actually are on a brink. So I would say they probably have the blocker now if Joyce is saying it. So there we go. He has went there. Hopefully we see a bit more movement on Lavia, because I can't see them getting both, but hopefully we see more movement on that. Jake Kev said he'd go with a diamond. Is that what you'd probably go with as well? Or would you stick with the 4-3-3? Or would you play the inverted role, given we have got so much change, bit of weakness we've seen in the game on Monday? People were exposing the right-hand side for us massively. They were just pinging the balls into that area. Now, if you come up against prem opposition, it's going to be more deadly. Would you tweak the formation a bit going into the Chelsea game, given we are weak in the middle?
I don't think you could play the inverted without a proper 6, because you're dragging Kanate out constantly. And to be fair to him, he smashed it last season doing it. But you don't want Kanate out on the right wing with a right back. I also think when you've got a centre half getting dragged out like that, they've got more chance of getting injured. I know that might sound mad, but centre halves don't move like wingers and wing back. You just don't. They turn like boats. So no, I wouldn't go for the inverted right back, and I probably wouldn't do the diamonds. It's an interesting one. I'm not against it. But I'll probably just stick to the 4-3-3 to be honest. Put Gakpo in a false 9. Mac as the 6, and then Jones on the left and Sob on the right. and take it from there, mate. The thing is, Chelsea in a mess as well. It's mad that they signed Caicedo. They still need a goalkeeper, arguably. I know they signed Sanchez, but initially I don't think they signed him as a number one, and they haven't got a striker, a recognised striker. So they still need to spend over 100 million, as mad as that sounds, even if they get Caicedo. Plus, they haven't really still got a midfield, even if you add him. So I'd stick to 4-3-3, but it's going to be interesting tomorrow because both sides are a bit of an unknown quantity in a sense. We're a completely new side in a way, and obviously Chelsea have got a new manager and have got about 55 players that we haven't got a clue which ones of them would start. So it's a bit of an unknown one there tomorrow, to be honest, mate. It could be a mad score, and I think it will be, to be honest, because I think both teams will probably just go for it, and this whole Caicedo thing just added spice to it and fuel to the fire. So Jackson does exist, but he's not a 9-9, mate. Just for the comment. So yeah, it's going to be an unknown one tomorrow, mate. Like I say, Poch is new. We've got a new look side. So yeah, anything could happen tomorrow.
What about you, Rich? You mentioned about the inverted fullback before. Is that something you'd still continue to use? It was so effective towards the end of the last year, but like Jay said, it just seems a bit risky to change too much as well. And playing Mac in the 6, he's played there before a few times. Jones is naturally gifted in the left side of the midfield. Tell Trent to just rein it in a bit. I mean, the last 10 or 12, whatever, but the years we've been playing, these has been 0-0 all the time. That's all I remember, 0-0, 0-0, 0-0. So
yeah, past 4 meetings have all ended up 0-0 now. We have got to put a couple of penalty shootouts, obviously, over them, resulting in cup wins. But it certainly won't be 0-0 tomorrow. I can guarantee that because both defences are pretty shoddy. I'm not saying necessarily our defence is shoddy, but I don't think the system will work if you haven't got a recognised 6. The reason why Fabi looked best at his best towards the end of the season was because he had cover next to him in Trent, and it was almost like Trent's moving into midfield to create that double pivot. So Fabi's legs didn't have to do as much running. He could sit and be in that quarterback role. I don't think Mac needs that. I think Mac as a 6 perhaps needs to just control his own game, not have to worry about where Trent's going. And same as Kanate, not having to worry about go across. Do you know what I'd do? I would go proper old school football, and I would say to Robbo and Trent, bomb forwards with your overlaps and your underlaps on those wings, get past Diaz, get past Salah, whoever it is on the flanks, and go that way and go proper old school for this game, because that's what Liverpool know. I think if Liverpool would play the inverted right back, etc., I think they would get exposed. And that high line we saw against Damsgaard got caught out. We've seen it a couple of times, but I just don't think Liverpool are ready yet without a recognised 6 to play that role. So yeah, I would go old school. Trent, Robbo, bomb on like your body depends on it, like you always used to. We'll see the best of Robbo again because he's not a left central midfield centre back, and we might just see the best of Robbo again. And I tell you what, that Chelsea defence is going to be in for a tough ride because we've got Nunes, we've got Jota. Let's say if they are on the bench to come off the bench after about 60 or 70 minutes, that Chelsea defence is going to be run ragged, hopefully. And Trent and Robbo bombing on as fullbacks can contribute towards that as well. Especially now, I mean, Liverpool fans really should all be rubbing their hands together with this extra added time that's coming into play. Because we've got so many speedy attackers coming off the bench, and they must be rubbing their hands because defenders they're going to be shattered. It'd be really interesting to see Levi Colwill tomorrow because he's a player that I personally wanted, and I think all of us probably wanted as well, actually. So it'd be really interested actually to see if he can stand the test of not just Gakpo, Salah, Diaz, also Jota and Nunes as well. Plus that he's going to have to do a bit of a job with Chelsea in midfield, although I can only really name a couple of Chelsea midfielders. They're going to have to do a really good job in Gakpo as well, looking after him in that false 9 role too. So it's going to be interesting. I wouldn't put my house on it, but I'd be very, very confident that it does not end 0-0.
Kev, would you like to see Robbo go like Trent stay more in the right back role rather than the inverted right back role, and that allows Robbo to then bomb forward? Because, like Richie alluded to, he hasn't been great in that system where he drops into a left centre back, has he?
He hasn't, and I don't think tomorrow's the game for us to be playing. I agree with the lads. For me, I totally agree with what Richie's just said. get them playing the way they used to, just going overlapping and getting those balls and crosses into that box, because it will cause mayhem. And especially when you've got the likes of Nunes, you've got a Jota. Jota, for me, it's unbelievable. Our lad who's 5'11" can out jump a 6'3", 6'4". He leaps like a salmon every time he goes up, and somehow gets his head on that ball. It's unbelievable. If he's that good, I reckon we play him a centre half. Do you know what I mean? Because he is just quality. Do you know what I mean? It's insane how good he is, and the one thing I've loved about this pre-season is that all our forwards are being on the goal sheet and on the assists, and it just shows that going forward we are looking really good. Do you know what I mean? We're like a well-oiled Ferrari. It's just that the back end of us looks like a Robert Reliance at the minute. I am in certain places. So, I agree with what the lad said. And, Robbo, let's get back to the traditional way of what suits him and how to play and what a game to do it. Because if there's anyone up for it, it will be Robbo tomorrow. No doubt.
Yeah. Before we move on, there is 77 likes. Let's get to 100. Come on, there's over 300 years here. Helps us out loads. If everyone liked it, then Charlie wouldn't be spamming it in the chat, and I wouldn't have to ring it up and go on before you. So if you like it, sound in it. But Jay, welcome to you. And Kev just mentioned about us. We are looking fantastic going forward in pre-season. Yeah. One player who I've been impressed with in pre-season is Darwin Núñez. Now I know you are in the camp of thinking he will come good. 26 goals in 28 games in his final season in Benfica. Do you not think he can reach them numbers for us this year, given how well he's performed in pre-season?
It's not that I don't think he can hit them numbers. Just if I'm picking my front three, he's not in it. That doesn't mean he's not a good player. It means there's players ahead of him on merit, purely, and especially with the system. If we're going into an unknown and without a six, I want to go with what's tried and trusted. And for me, the back end of last season made Gakpo was special. I think Gakpo's going to be huge this season. I really, really do. I think arguably he could be our player of the season. I rate him that highly, mate. He's a very intelligent footballer. So when I'm saying not starting Núñez, that's not me having a go at him. I just don't see a world in how he gets in the team over Gakpo, the way Gakpo's been playing. That's not a criticism of Núñez. Pre-season, mate, he's looked shit hot. The whole going forwards, we've looked electric, mate. Like, we'll tear defense. It sort of reminds me of when Klopp first took over, and the games are going to be like 4-3, 4-2, scoring bags of goals, but at the back we're not shored up. And that's what's frustrating, that if we had got Caicedo, I think we're there, like right there again. The pressing's back in pre-season. You can see it. The energy's back in the team. But we haven't got that solid midfielder at the back, to solidify everything. If we had that, mate, I think we're good to go for everything again. We look electric going forward, mate, and it's one of them. All four of us might have a different front three. None of the options are going to be a bad front three. We might not agree with it, but whatever one we all come up with, it's going to be a good one. I think Jota's looked brilliant in pre-season. And the link-up he had with Diaz in the last game as well. Honestly, mate, we've got a really... I'd argue we've got the best front line in the Prem, maybe even Europe, because the options there are insane, mate. And like I say, it's a shame we haven't sorted out a really good six, which there's still time. I'm trying to be optimistic, mate, because I still can't believe we put in 100 million bid for a player. So it gives you that bit of hope that we will do something right. So yeah, if we sort that, mate, I think we'll be there for everything. That front line's brilliant that we've got. I think Gakpo's going to be huge this season.
Richie, what about you? Jay's alluded to it there with Gakpo. I think everyone rates him very highly in the fan base. He's the closest thing really to what we had with Bobby, but he can actually finish probably better than Bobby, and that's not even a criticise Bobby either. He's just that good. Do you think he'll be the one we turn to in that false nine, or do you think we will play Núñez, who in his second season at clubs has proven he is a lot more pivotal? He's looked very sharp in pre-season. Or do you think it'll just be a mixture of they all probably play similar minutes? Núñez may start 1 week with Gakpo off the bench for in the 60th minute to play God knows how many minutes, get added on, etc. And the same with Gakpo starting, Núñez coming off the bench on 60 and playing until maybe 110 minutes like we've seen today.
Yeah, and I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if we do sign a 6 or not, that we actually see a 4 at times as well, with Gakpo playing in behind Núñez in that 10 role. So I do think the minutes will be shared and everyone's going to have their time to shine. I think the only one nailed on every single week is Mo. and rightly so. Ben Doak, though, is pushing, and I really hope that he gets some minutes this season, especially in the Europa League. That's exactly what we should be doing, is pushing Ben Doak, because he's looked probably the most exciting without, actually scoring a goal. He's looked brilliant every time he's come on with the ball at his feet. No fear, absolute no fear, and he's a proper winger / forward. But going back to your point, I think it's horses for courses for Liverpool, because I would certainly play Gakpo up top against Chelsea, and then Darwin comes on the last half hour, 20 minutes to really, put them to the sword. Let's say another week, the week after, where we play in Bournemouth at home, actually that might be time for Núñez to be a menace and actually just run at the Bournemouth defence non-stop, because the difference in both of them is that Núñez is an out-and-out attacker, and he is that person who's always going to play on the shoulder, and is going to use his pace and expose a slower defence. I don't think Chelsea necessarily have a slower defence. I wouldn't describe their defence as slow, but that's where Núñez would play, and that's where I would start him. So I think that the minutes definitely will be shared, and rightly so. That's why you have squad depth. I'm also thinking, I said that Núñez would hit 15 goals in all competitions last season. I think he's going to hit 20 in all competitions this season. And I do include the Europa League, so he might bag a hatful quite early on. But it's good for his confidence. We saw that he's a confident player. He relies on confidence. He relies on a run of games. But he also will give everything. I've never actually seen him never try. I've never seen him not try and give his best. Sometimes you look at Mo, and I think he's probably the third, for me, best player to wear a Liverpool shirt, which is a massive shout. But for me, he's number 3. Sometimes even he will throw his arms up in the air, and he'll sit there like really annoyed, and he just looks so angry and he looks annoyed. I don't say that he gives up, because he doesn't. But with Núñez, you see obviously the menace in him, and you see him sometimes get annoyed, or he might frown, or he might headbutt somebody. But at the same time, he's always running around like a madman. And that's what you want really from a young striker, is someone who's always there, always giving it his best. And I think given a pre-season and a whole season under Klopp makes finishers 10 times better. Klopp, if anything Jurgen Klopp could do, and that is bring out a goal scorer in someone. So Núñez is going to hit 20 plus this season. I can guarantee it. Whether he starts or Gakpo starts, I can still see it happening.
He probably tries too hard sometimes, doesn't he, lad? And that can go against you. You're not playing your natural game. You're trying to do too much rather than doing the natural things that got you where you are.
Yeah, and he gets in his head too much. Like you can see it. He is trying too hard, especially when he first, I think, came in. It always seemed like he was trying too hard to impress. And actually, when we took him out and then he was playing again and he hit a little bit of a run of form, everyone said, oh, he can't finish when he has too long to think. And they were probably right about that. He is a natural finisher, which sounds silly. That goal against Real Madrid shouldn't be. That's a Champions League knockout final. He's trying to back heel. And it comes off because he's got that split minute. Right, I know what to do here. And yeah, sometimes when he does go through one-on-one, he's in his own head too much. And that's where you start to lose your feet. Yeah, you're thinking about it. And then you think about where you're going to shoot and you lose your feet. And then anyone who's played football before will know this. And then the ball's got away from you. And what you were going to do, you can't do anymore because the ball's in a different position. So, he does think about it too much. But as I said, the natural finisher in him, you can't coach that. You can coach composure, and you can coach, right, 10 times you're going to go through against Ali one-on-one. 10 times you're going to do it, and we're going to do it every single training session until you get better and better and better and picking your choices and having that composure.
Yeah. Moving on to this, Kev, the Mirror report and FSG flying to Stamford Bridge for tomorrow's game. One of the commenters is saying, is there anything behind that, do you reckon? Or do you reckon they're just coming to Chelsea so that they've been avoiding Anfield maybe in case any backlash from fans? Or do you think they're in to do some business before the end of the window?
I'm hoping it's to come in and do some business. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Do
you not think it's John Henry going over to punch Todd in the head, maybe?
Well, there's that.
Yeah, I hope it's a Zuckerberg Musk type thing, but Bowley and Henry.
It stems back to though with baseball, doesn't it? Didn't Henry take someone off Bowley years ago? I'm
not too sure. I'm not a baseball fan, so I can't say. But I wouldn't be surprised. Probably John's come over to look for his wallet because someone's took it off him. who knows? Do you know what I mean? I just hope James isn't around Stamford Bridge tomorrow because he'll get his head kicked in. So I'll be honest. It's intriguing that they've decided to come over. Now, whether there's going to be,
Charlie, I think Kev is putting this in the car. I think it's Charlie saying that they're flown in, and it would they left America believing that they had bought Caicedo basically, and now they haven't.
Well, if that's the case, then they're going to turn up with egg on the face, aren't they? I do hope that there is a meeting in our London offices and a strategic plan set out as to where this money is going to be spent and what to do. It looks as though we haven't got a backup plan as of yet. Do you know what I mean? And it's worrying for me that we've got owners coming over on the potential that, you know, they don't look at communications or anything like that and believe that we've got a player when we haven't. It all sounds as though it's all reactive, and I hate it when it's like this. We're just reacting to certain situations. It does my head in, and
yeah.
It's crazy in the sense that a club as big as us, we've got the owner who hasn't got a bloody clue what's gone on the last 12 hours and has decided to make his way over thinking we've won this battle with Todd Bowley when we clearly haven't. So it's madness.
What do you think? What do you think happens as well with John Henry? Say you are John Henry, you're going to come away fuming. Do you take your ball and go home and go, okay, well, we didn't get that person, so we're just going to go with Lavia and then that's it? Or do you think it might spur him on and go, all right, well, I'll tell you what, we didn't get this player, but instead we're going to get this one, and this one. Now, history tells us he might take his ball and go home, but do you think it might spur him a little bit and go, do you know what? No, you don't do this to me. I'm going to now spend X amount of money more.
Well, if we think about it, we've got Hogan there as well, who's meant to be part of this deal already. A part of the Caicedo deal. We've got officers there. There needs to be a decision with Klopp, Hogan, and with Henry, and with Gordon if he's there, and decide what the hell's the next plan. Because this is now in the 11th hour. We've still got 3 weeks, 2 weeks left, 3 weeks left of the transfer window.
Yeah,
get something sorted. There's money there. The fans know there's money there, so you can't hide it now. Get it done. Sorry to butt in there, Matty, if you were going to come in. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that. I don't remember what I was going to say. Genuinely don't know. But just want to bring up Richie alluded to before, Ben Doak. Do you think he gets any minutes tomorrow? Because he's looked fantastic in pre-season. I know he's still young, but that old saying, isn't it? If you're good enough, you're old enough.
Completely agree with if you're old enough, you're good enough. I don't think that matters. The thing for me is, mate, I'd love to see him come on, but he's got Jota and Nunes on the bench as well. So would you bring all front three off? I don't know, it might be hard for him to get on tomorrow with it being Chelsea. I think to blood him in, maybe wait for a home game where the crowd can get right behind him. Tomorrow's going to be hostile, mate, really hostile. Chelsea are going to be taking the piss out of us. We're going to be shot. We hate them anyway, the scum, when they come to Anfield. I can't stand Chelsea fans, hate them. Anyone who's been around Anfield when we play them, you'll know all about it. Every single time there's something happening with them, can't bear them. So tomorrow's going to be a really hostile atmosphere, I think. Yeah, so it might not be the best game for him to play. Not because that'll get to him. I just think it's really important we win this. Just for bragging rights, at least on the pitch and not obviously in the transfer market. And I think Jota and Nunes are more likely to get the nods than Zoe coming on. And I imagine Salah's just the full 90 minutes, mate, because even if Salah's having a bad game, there's always a chance he gets that winning goal for you or, you know, comes out with something. So I don't think tomorrow's the right time for him, but definitely this season the lad should be playing games. I think Europa League's going to be great for Zoe.
Chelsea tomorrow, Richie, they have Sanchez in goal, you'd assume. Getting rid of Kepa to Real Madrid. I mean, I don't know who his agent is because he is shocking, and I think that's just put Madrid's chances of Corey right down, to be honest with you. But Sanchez in goal. I liked him at Brighton, but I don't think he was fantastic. I don't think he wins them the league, do you? So is that a weakness for considering how strong we are going forward tomorrow, given that they've got a brand new goalkeeper in who hasn't played with that defence yet? He's good, but not like Alisson level good, and that's now their new number one, where the money they're investing in Caicedo, they could have maybe looked to bring in a solid number 1.
Yeah, and it's still an upgrade on Kepa, I think. I would rather have Kepa in goal tomorrow with Szoboszlai pinging, you know, and McAllister, to be fair, those long-range shots, I think that you test Kepa and he'll make a mistake. The only thing that I would say about Sanchez is just press him, because he's not great with the ball at his feet. Press, and hopefully, you know, you get you just rewards. He is a good goalkeeper. He is you know, solid is the way that I would describe him. Not with the ball at his feet, but he's a solid shot stopper, and he's definitely proved his worth at Brighton. But there was a reason why Brighton stopped playing him as well. You know, he didn't fit in with De Zerbi's plans, and still looks to be the one moving forwards, where he is the one moving forwards. So it's an upgrade on Kepa, but it's not anything that, you know, where you're like, I remember even at Real Madrid, you know, we've got to beat Courtois. You know, you don't feel like that with a Sanchez, you know, and that's the way that I always look at a goalkeeper. I would say that a lot of people think that about Alisson. I wouldn't say a lot of people would say that perhaps about against Chelsea. I think their lineup is going to be tremendously interesting, because I have no idea. I'm sure if there are any Chelsea fans in the stream, firstly, it's only purely to rub our noses in it with Caicedo, isn't it? But secondly, what is their starting 11? Like, do they have a standard starting 11 at the minute?
Because it'll be a very young starting 11, won't it? But then that can also be dangerous, because we may not have trained for this young starting 11 all week. But they've got, when you look at the side, they've still got heavy players like that Carney Chuck, and that's in midfield. He's a baller, and then still got like Sterling and stuff now. I know Sterling. They've got Enzo, but like, even going forward, they've got like Sterling, and I know Sterling's not been fantastic for years, but he can turn it on. He's got that in him, really. So they could play one of probably 50 combinations, really, couldn't they?
Yeah, but this is the issue, isn't it? Like, so early on, I don't know whether Poch will know his best team, being a new manager and coming in as well. So he might not know that his best team, and it might be quite experimental for him too. But what it is a great chance for those Chelsea players to show their worth and to show why they should be playing. So they're going to be out there playing for the badge, because they want their starting positions nailed on as well. This Jackson has performed very well in pre-season. Yeah. I think losing Nkunku was massive for Chelsea, and I really wanted to see him actually in the Premier League, not against us, but I think he is a player who could light up the Premier League. So I'll be interested again to see this Jackson. Again, don't know too much of him apart from what I've seen of him pre-season. He does look electric. He does look like he can finish and bang. So, like I said, it's certainly not going to end 0-0.
Yeah, we are blessed. Blessed, aren't we, Jay, that we are facing Nkunku tomorrow.
Ugh. You know how much I wanted him last season. I didn't shut up about him every stream I was on. Obviously, we went for Nunes, but I thought Nkunku was tailor fit for Liverpool. Yeah. Especially with Bobby leaving. He can play various roles in Nkunku. Nunes is Nunes. He's a 9 for me. I know a lot of people talk about him coming in from the left and play left wing. 2 different things. So yeah, we are blessed, mate, with that front line. We are lucky with it, and we're blessed we haven't got Nkunku to play against. I think he would have been brilliant for Liverpool, but the other thing you've got to remember now, we've got Gakpo, which
I think that's
was a swap. I didn't even get on that, yeah. So was a swap Gakpo for anyone right now? Probably not, mate. I really like him that much.
And also, to pull the purse strings out again, Nkunku was only ever going for top dollar, and Gakpo, we got pretty much half of that Nkunku fee.
At the time, I really wanted him, and I was gutted they got him. And I'm gutted for him. I'm with Richie. I'd love to have seen him in the Prem, preferably not at Chelsea. But, you know, you don't want to see great players that are good to watch be injured. So it's a shame. But I am, at the same time, glad he's not playing against us.
Kev, Mo Salah, open day goal. It's just something that, it's water wet sort of thing now, and he always bags on the open day. Can you see him getting a goal tomorrow, maybe another wonder goal like he got the other year against them, or do you think it's going to be cagey like it has been in recent years?
I think you'll see Salah scoring tomorrow. I've made him my FPL captain this week, so I'm open. He scores a hat-trick this week. Laugh all you want. He is going back. No,
he can do it.
No,
just needs one more to Ireland, don't he? And Kevin win
man. I need a bloody miracle at this place. At this rate with my team, I've only got 2 players left. So yeah, so I'm open. No, it goes without saying. Saturday, I'm going to put the. I always do this with my predictions. he does score on opening day, and I can't see him not scoring tomorrow. I think there'll be plenty of opportunities. As Richie said, both defences aren't up to where they need to be. I think a big loss for Chelsea would be the fact that Kovacic has gone to City. I think that's a big thing for us, is that you haven't got that defensive mindedness in there. I think attacking wise, there's going to be plenty of opportunities at both ends of the pitch, and Mo looks. I'm open for a couple of goals and a couple of assists.
Richie, before we finish it off, going to put it to all three is what would be your front three, and what score do you reckon tomorrow?
Diaz on the left, Gakpo through the middle, and Salah on the right. I think that's probably what most people would go for. It's a safe one, and then Jota and Nunes then comes off the bench. But I really would not rule out Jota starting through the middle and Gakpo maybe going into midfield. So who I would like to see is the first option, but who could we see as the second option? I think it's a goal bonanza, so we're probably in for another 0-0. Let's go either 3-2 or 4-3 Liverpool. It's opening day. Let's go 4-3. 4-3 Liverpool.
Carnage, absolute carnage. How about you, Kev?
I like the way Richie's put virtually all our front three and everyone else in there, so he covers all bases. I'm not going to be. I'm going to be decisive for once. I reckon it'll be Diaz, Jota, and it will be Salah, and Gakpo will be played in midfield, and we win 4-2.
Interesting. Both of them choosing to concede goals, Jay. I reckon a clean sheet for Ali on day one.
No, I don't think there'll be a clean sheet tomorrow for either side, mate. Not at all. It's mad, like, when Richie was speaking, it was everything I was thinking prior. That's me front three. I certainly wouldn't mind Gakpo being in the midfield. Probably prefer not, but if I seen that tomorrow, I think now we're going for it here. So I'd be optimistic about that, excited. Mate, I just think it's going to be a goal fest tomorrow. I really, really do. And that's why it's weird, because when I said everything Richie said, I was thinking, I had in my head 4-3. I think we'll score 4. What they score, I don't know. It's on a one score, but I reckon there'll be 7-8 goals in the game. I really, really do. I just think both teams are going to go end to end.
Interesting.
What's your prediction, Matty?
I reckon.
And who's your front three?
My front three would be Diaz, Nunes, and Salah, because I reckon mind games from Klopp didn't play Nunes in the last pre-season. Plays him against the defence. He's looked sharp, and then I reckon it'll only be 1-0. Me, I reckon Alisson will. I reckon because we've looked so poor in pre-season defensively and so easily exposed, I reckon we'll just tighten up and
shore it up.
I reckon we'll be the cagey ones tomorrow because we're a bit weak, so we'll be a bit more cagey, a bit more defensive, and then
more counter-attacking.
Yeah, I just reckon it'll be, because I'm just so used to boring games with Chelsea. The fiery but boring, aren't they? There's just no goals.
The Champions League final against Spurs is anything to go by, because that was Pochettino, wasn't it? So
yeah, that was the same performance. So I just reckon, we'll win. I reckon we'll win the league this year, to be honest with you. I'm still quite confident, even without a DM.
No, he's DM, I'll go with it if you get a DM, but nah. Love your optimism, man. Matthew always thinks we'll win everything.
But yeah, we will leave it there. Go and watch the German Super Cup where Bayern Munich are actually getting beat 2-0.
That's because Harry Kane's gone. It's the Harry Kane jinx.
It's the Harry Kane effect. Oh, the poor man.
I thought I didn't even know he still had. But be interested to see how Carvalho's getting on, if he started or if he's going to come on and do anything as well. Leave everyone to go and watch that. We are back tomorrow. I think there's a watch along with Anthony. There'll be a post match as well, and potentially even a stream later on. Who knows with the transfer market? Anything could happen. But we've been LFC Transfer and been Matty, joined by Richie, Kevin, Jay. Nice one for watching and nice one for everyone listening. Before we go, do leave a like on the video and subscribe. Helps us out loads. 300 years here. I'd like to see 300 likes when we finish. See you in a bit.